Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Amber. I really enjoy designing garment patterns.
We're going to show you some tips and tricks to be more successful when sewing our patterns. I'm going to show you how to sew the neckline of the Wanderlust tee. The Wanderlust tee is a knit fabric tee that is very simple to make. The most complicated part is the neckline. So once you master this, you'll be able to make as many t-shirts as you want. So I've got my jersey neckband that's cut out and marked per the pattern. The first step is just going to be to sew this together into a loop. So I'm going to attach the two short ends. I've got them right sides together, and I'm going to use my serger to sew them together. This pattern has a 1/2 inch seam allowance. On this particular serger, that means I'm going to sew with the edge of the fabric lined up with this line right here. This is 1/2 inch. You could also accomplish these steps using your regular sewing machine and using a stretch stitch. So 1/2 inch seam allowance. Perfect. The next step is going to be taking this over to my iron, and I'm going to open this up, press the seam allowance to one side, and then I'm going to press this wrong sides together in half. So I'm going to go do that. Here's my neckband. I've sewn it together and then pressed it in half, wrong sides together. So now I'm ready to attach it to the tee. And this method of attaching the neckband is the exact same in both the Wanderlust and the Adventure Tank, and can also be used for most of your knit garments. It's a really neat, easy, tidy way of attaching a neckband. So I'm going to have this right sides together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this neckband onto the tee at the 4 points that are marked with the markings. So the first one is going to be this serged edge and is going to match up with the mark on the back of the tee. And I'm going to do this with the raw edges of the serged neckband facing and matching the raw edges of the t-shirt. So there's one. Oh. Here's my next marking, is going to go over here. There's two. The center front. And let me find my next marking. This is the last one. It's really important also while you're doing this that you make sure your neckband is not twisted. That's not going to work. Okay, so I've got it pinned in 4 places. Now I'm going to take it over to the serger and serge this all together. So just what you're going to do while serging is you're going to be stretching the neckband. The neckband is always going to be smaller than your neck opening when working with knit fabrics. So I'm going to stretch the neckline as I sew so that it fits onto the edge of the t-shirt. So let's go over to the serger and I'll show you how to do that. My neckband is pinned on, and I'm going to start serging right here at the center back of the shirt. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to be with my neckband on top. And first I'm just going to get it into the serger. Okay, I just wanted to get it onto the serger. Now I'm going to continue around. I'm going to be watching right here to make sure that I'm at my 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'm going to be stretching this neckband as I go. And just take it really slow. You'll see the neckband needs to be stretched quite a bit to work. So we're just going to take it slow. You're just going to keep going around like this, stretching the neckband and going from point to point. So I'm going to stop, take my pin out. And now I'm back at the beginning where I started, so I'm just going to even out this edge and finish this seam. So now the neckband is attached, and you're just going to take this to your iron and press the seam allowance down and the neck edge up. I pressed my neckline so that the seam allowance is going down and we have the neckline is faced up. And it looks really nice, but we're gonna finish it with a super tidy and professional looking double needle. So I'm going to now do a double needle all the way around here, which I'll show you. And with the two needles, you're going to be stitching in the ditch with one needle, and then the second needle is going to be right here on the outer edge of the garment. And it's going to catch the seam allowance and just tack it down while finishing it. If you have a slippery jersey, it might be really helpful to use a walking foot for this step. I'm using a really sturdy jersey, so I'm just going to use the regular foot on my machine. I have my double needle set up in my machine, and it's always a good idea to practice the double needle on some scrap fabric that you have that's the same as your top before you start your top stitching. So I've already done that. Some troubleshooting tips: it might be good to lengthen the stitch length a little bit when using a double needle. So I have a 2.6 instead of a 2.2. And like I said before, using a walking foot could also help. I'm going to start sewing at the back center seam, and I'm just going to make sure that I have this lined up so that my inner needle is stitching in the ditch, and I'm just going to sew all the way around. Ta-da! A tidy finished shirt. Okay,